Welcome to the YouTube channel, Prasanna, and I really appreciate you are giving time for this amazing interview, which is actually going to help a lot of people around with their CMA studies and all the preparation around. And so, yes, first of all, I really wanted you to introduce yourself that people can actually relate, what you're going to talk about. Yeah.
Yeah, so thank you, Himanshu. I am Prasanna. I am from Pune and I just completed my graduation and I have already qualified both the CMA parts and now I'm preparing for MBA entrances. So yeah, that is for the introduction, short and sweet.
That's great. And I seriously wanted, that answer. I think I asked this question almost to everyone. Why you choose CMA over any other course? Like you can choose CMA, you can choose ACCA as well. But why your focus was okay? Let's go with the CMA, and then we'll think about other things. Yeah.
Yeah, so one thing is that I didn't want to go into an accounting profile. So there
Okay.
were finance profiles, and I researched a lot. So I saw CMA, and the content was so relevant for today's world. And secondly, it was about management, which I am personally passionate about. So yeah, that is what why CMA, because it's very up to the mark. There's no extra theory, there's no extra content, a limited syllabus, a relevant syllabus, and that's pretty much industry specific, to be honest. Yeah.
Got it. And I seriously want you to explain, although people who are actually going to start with CMA, they must be aware about what is CMA is all about. But I wanted you to, let people know what is CMA is all about in your own layman's language, what you understand, what CMA can, help you out with the things. So, yeah.
Yeah, so CMA is not very accounting specific or say finance specific. It is a very good combination of all the relevant content from all of those branches, like say technology or management or finance.
Yeah.
A bit of finance, then there's a bit of accounting. So, which is very much relevant to the industry, and that's what is needed in management in the today's world. So that is what CMA is for me. It's pretty much very management and industry specific. So with the emerging startups and everything, I think this is the knowledge that everybody should have.
Got it.
So that is CMA for me.
Okay. And I really wanted to ask you in terms of going into the deep dive into the preparation, like which part you gave first and how many months you have taken for, each part. And what was your basically, I would say, preparation strategy for, part one and then part two. Yeah.
Yeah, so starting with it, I knew in the first year I wanted to start with CMA. So I
Okay,
started my
first year of
preparation.
graduation, okay,
Yeah,
great.
so at the end of the first year, so I lived my all the college life and everything, trips and everything in the first year. So at the start of the second year, I decided to start studying. So I started with part one because for part two, first of all, I was just first year pass out. So for part two, I thought I should have this base, and which is why I started with part one because I personally found it easy, to be honest. A lot of people say part two is easy, but I needed
Definitely,
that
part
foundation.
you are the first person in my life. I can say from around 50 to 100 people I have connected or who are doing CMA or completed. You are the first one who are saying that part one is easy, even including me.
Yeah, true. Because I think part one has that foundation from the scratch, and for part two, you need a bit of that foundation. So I wanted to start with part one. I read all of it, and luckily, I would say thanks to this lockdown and quarantine, in 2020, I started. So it was lockdown, and I was just reading through it.
Yeah.
I didn't first. I kind of just absorbed the what is the content, like the content list and everything. I just paced through the syllabus and read some everything once. So that is when I knew कि I need to start from part one itself because there are some things in part two finance related which I thought I'm not prepared enough to do that because
Okay.
I was just first year pass out. So I started with part one. I took a whole year for part one because a lot of people say part one is hard, it's theory, it's this and that. So I didn't want to take chance with the first part I gave because that that one. clearance would give me so much confidence boost. So I thought I'll take a lot of time for this. So part one, I gave a whole year. I gave my part one at the end of the second year.
Okay.
So, and then I gave part two, but again, I got a this thing promo code for part two, and I
Uh,
registered it in that this thing validity period. So I gave my part two very shortly, like literally after 3 months, I gave part two. Unfortunately, I couldn't pass it obviously, but I got a heavy concession, so I was okay to take that chance.
yeah.
So I gave part two 3 months later, but I only missed on 20 marks.
Okay, it
So
must be around 340.
340. Yeah, I missed.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
scored 340 and the passing was some 360 or 370. I think
360 is
360.
required, yeah.
Yeah, so I missed on for 20 marks and then I gave part two again after 3 months and I scored good marks, like about 400 marks something. So yeah,
Great.
so that was my journey. I cleared both the parts in the same year of my, like same academic year of my college. And I qualified both the parts even before my last semester exams. So that was a big relief and the confidence, the
Got it.
that
Getting the
boost I
international
wanted for my,
certification, yeah.
yeah, so that was pretty much amazing.
CMA,
Uh,
yeah. Even I can say CMA certification is something that people should start, while doing their graduation because they get a lot of insights about finance world. And once because that is, I think CMA is the only shortest certification which is available, which can be done along with the graduation. Although CMA and other things are there, but there are number of exams which can be hard to manage along with the studies, and it can take more time beyond your graduation as well. But with the CMA, you can do it, and it can actually boost your not just profile, but your own thinking of looking at the finance world. So I think that this is one of the best certification when it comes to doing before graduation. After graduation, there are multiple options available, I can say. So yes, definitely. And I seriously want you to ask about what was your experience in terms of registration, then giving the exam for part one and then part two. Yeah.
yeah, so I registered before part one examination. So around that there was some fee around some there was $210, which was the subscription fee, and then I paid some 415 or $455 for part one. So I
Part
think
one.
one of the mistakes I did, I should have applied for a scholarship, but
True.
since my college takes a lot of time for that clearance, and I wanted to finish my USCMA before third year. So I skipped the scholarship part.
Okay.
So yeah, and then for part two, I got a 50% discount and I got my part two examination registration at some 210 or
Okay.
$240. So that was a good deal for me. And yeah, so that's
Without
my
discount, I
registration
think that
process.
would be around $415 or something for part two
Yeah,
without
it's
discount.
$455 to be precise. Like,
$455. Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Which I got in some 245 or $250 at that time because there was this corona period going on and very few people were registering, I think. So they had a concession, 50% concession something.
Got it.
So that is
And it,
about fee.
and in terms of preparation material, which material you actually referred to, like Lame, Hawk or Wiley, and which material you would actually recommend in terms of somebody is preparing and wanted to get access of any of them.
Yeah, so I went through a lot of material is available online, the PDFs and everything. So I went through material. I went
Okay.
through Wiley once and I went through Hawk. And I read a few notes from Miles. There were two sections which were new, section E and F. At my time, they were new.
Okay.
So, but I found Hawk to be the easiest one. Since I was an undergraduate student and everything was new to me, I
Yeah.
referred Hawk because that teaches you from basic,
Got
like
it.
from basic accounts, everything starts. So I refer to Hawk for my reading, but again, CMA is not a theory based examination. You
Definitely.
have
Yeah.
to apply everything you learn. So for the MCQ and question banks, I refer to Wiley because I really like the interface and everything. It is exact of what CMA or official this things, the layout is,
Yeah.
interface.
Pearson view. Yeah.
Yeah, so I went through Wiley. So for part one, I refer to different question bank, and for part two, I refer to different question bank. For part one, I refer to Wiley and Hawk
Okay,
because
both.
the theory, yeah. So Hawk and Wiley question banks, because I think there are theory sections in part one, and Hawk has a better, I like, that's my personal thing. I think
Even
Hawk
my,
has better, yeah. So Hawk
yeah,
has better theory question banks than Wiley, because you what happens is with Wiley, you get saturated, and at a point those questions keep on repeating the
true.
theory one liner questions. So when that repetition started, I went to Hawk for part one. For part two is extremely practice oriented. You really
Okay,
have to practice each section a lot of times. There are
definitely.
numericals, there are types of numericals. So for part two, I first refer to Wiley. Again, when that repetition started around theory sections, I went on to Gleim. So for
Okay,
Gleim, I first did the theory sections from Gleim, because Wiley and Hawk has limited questions when it comes to theory. Gleim, it is literally detailed. Like,
yeah.
it's from the easiest
It is the
difficulty
one of
level to
the
highest
largest question. They have one of the largest question bank. Yeah,
largest question bank. So for theory sections, I practiced Gleim. After that, repetition came into Wiley. So that's how I prepared. Again, Wiley, it's something, it is very vast. So sometimes you feel like it is never ending. So I
yeah,
really chose things which I am not good at, and I did those sections only from Gleim, because Gleim is, it's no, it doesn't exhaust at all. So
true.
uh, I took care that I am not demotivated, because there are some questions in Gleim, which are out of the scope of syllabus, or they are extremely difficult.
Extremely difficult. And in the exam, the best part is once you're done with the claim, you get the easiest question into the exam. Which are
Yeah.
actually when you compare the real exam with the claim question bank, that's actually easy one.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
Gleim, that happens with Gleim, that the difficulty is quite high,
quite high. Yeah,
and it's not actually exam standard sometimes. So I took care that those difficult areas don't demotivate me. And
yeah,
all the full mocks, like the full length mocks, I gave them in Wiley, because Wiley has exam standard questions,
yeah,
or
true.
essay questions. Wiley has pretty similar to the exam standard. So that was about the
But
questions in syllabus.
for example, if I would ask you to, like, if somebody comes to you, for example, and he or she asks you, okay, which question bank I should refer on the first place, and which books I should refer on the first place for both part one and part two, out of three, which one would you suggest?
I would say for syllabus or learning, I would always recommend Hawk. And
Hawk.
for question
Yeah.
bank, yeah, and for question banks, I'll recommend Wiley.
Okay, great. Yes, this is even I feel for books, claim is never recommended because that they have the one of the concise concepts they have. They don't have the concept which which are deep dive or you can read out a lot into the books. And they have the I think shortest book curriculum with them. And with the Hawk, I think books are really good. They explain everything around and sometimes even over and above the which is required. It they takes you as that you don't have even having knowledge of cash and cash equivalent or these kind of concepts. So they explain you everything around, and that is the
Exactly.
best part for Hawk. And with the question bank, yes, Wiley and Hawk. I think with the question bank, everyone has a choice. With me, I would suggest claim is the best. If somebody needs to choose one of them and don't want to bear the low cost of all of three, so I think claim is the best. So yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, because
true
they
that.
have the
There's
largest question
also,
bank. Yeah,
yeah. So there's also a thing that if you solve the whole Gleim once, or even if once, twice, you are done. You are scoring above 400
definitely,
marks. So there's
definitely.
this thing also with Gleim. So if you have a lot of time and you want to study everything in detail, you should go with question bank of Wiley, this thing Gleim. But yeah, there is
And
this thing.
yeah, and what was your like preparation strategy for like you said you gave part 1% you took a whole year, but what was your preparation strategy like in terms of how you studied, how you prepared notes, how many hours you used to give. Because if somebody wants to pursue, he will, get an idea. Okay, this much I need to do. This much, a kind of hard work I need to do once I will go for part one. Yeah.
So I think, so for part one, what I did is, like, for the whole curriculum, I would say, I first read out the theory sections and I kept solving those questions along with my next set of syllabus. So, for example, if the last two sections are theory, I would read them first and I'll keep solving side by side. Until then, I'll do all the calculation oriented syllabus.
Mm-hmm.
So that way, there was no compromise between both the sections, like the calculations and theory. Because again, with theory, you will have theory. There's this conception that the paper is 70% calculation or 30% theory.
30%.
I
Yes.
don't
Yes.
believe in that at all, because when I gave exams, I felt like there were equal amount of theory questions as well. So, and also with ACEs, you need to know everything in detail, like the concept based questions, or you say theory, everything. So, I did theory along with my calculations. Uh,
True.
about time, I would say, if you're a full time student, I think if you're a full time student and you can devote 6 to 8 hours a day, I think 4 months will be enough
Yeah.
if you devote 6 to 8 hours a day.
Yeah.
Since I was a college student and I had to do well in accounts also, so I used to study 3 or 4 hours maximum. That's the maximum setting I have done, 4 hours. So yeah, again, part one, the first 6 months I wasn't that serious. I started 6 months later. I started a full fledged prep, and then I started for 3 hours a day. But again, there's this thing: a lot of students, they keep reading books and books and books, so that doesn't work. Until you solve questions, you make mistakes, you correct them, and that is the time when you learn.
True.
So for me, it took me 6 months to realize, because my accuracy wasn't improving at a point. So for a month, I remember there was a month where I was scoring only 50% accuracy. And I used to be like, where am I lacking? Because I was self-studying, I didn't have a coaching.
Yeah.
So that is when I talked to a few people, and then I realized I need to solve more questions. Because there was this thing, I thought, okay, I am just a first year pass student, and that is why I don't know concept. But it is not like that. You read and
True.
then you apply, you make mistakes, and then you learn from them, and that's how progress happens. So yeah. So when I scored around 70 to 75% in mocks, that is when I registered for the exam. And after that whole month, like, I registered for a date which was a month later, and I used that whole month only for my revision, for my mock test, and thirdly, I sold the CMA support package 3 times. So
Okay.
there
Yeah.
were some
CMA support
20
package they
25
provide.
essays.
Mm.
Yeah, so there were some 20 25 essays. I would list down all the topics. I would revise all the concepts, and then I used to solve all those essays again. So again,
Okay.
there's so again, there's CMA support package. I used to do questions, not questions wise. I used to do them concept wise. So
Okay.
yeah, there's learning outcome statement. I
Yeah.
used to
Learning
take
of.
learning outcome statement. I used to see the CMA support package, and then I used to solve everything according to the learning outcome statement. And then I used to tick all the parts I don't know,
This is
and I
something
used to,
new. Yeah.
yeah. So
With this,
there's
you
again,
can actually expertise on particular area of subject. Yeah.
yeah, a lot of students miss on the learning outcome statements, and they refer to books, publications, or coaching
Directly.
material,
Directly. Yeah.
and then they end up practicing a section which is not as important as it sounds to be.
Yeah.
So that is one thing I remember doing, learning outcome statement. I used to study everything according to learning outcome statements,
Seriously, this is something
and
new. Yeah.
that is
This
where
will
you
help.
know. Yeah, so that is where you know how many concepts I don't know from which section and what all you have to revise.
True. True.
So that helped me a lot, the support package and the learning outcome statement. So again, everything is very much available on YouTube, and everything you don't know is very big. explained basic from basic to advanced in YouTube. So I used to refer to YouTube, learning outcome statement, and CMA support package. That was my drill for the last month of prep, and that is when my accuracy really raised like around 15% or something. So I
Great.
think learning outcome statement that's what
Yeah.
helps.
And in terms of, I seriously want to ask, like, what is the right time to register for the exam? For the exam, I'm saying. For example, you are giving exam, I have seen a lot of people, they used to register for the exam 6 months back, or even, before that. So as per you, as you suggested that I registered for the exam before a month. So is that the right strategy or like, yeah,
Yeah, so what happens is, I would say for college students, um, what happened with one of my friends is she registered a date 3 months
3 months, yeah.
pehle, and then at the time when she had her exams, she also had exams in college. And since I live in
Okay,
Pune, there is no CMA exam center in Pune, so we have to travel to Mumbai. And then
okay,
it was
okay.
so hectic for her to go reach at 8 in the morning, give her CMA exams, come back, give her college exams. So I think if you don't have a very correct schedule of what your uh, schedule is going to be for the next month or like 3 months
Yeah,
later, I think 1 month is kind of an ideal time because
true.
again things like festivals happen, then there's
Even
college
you
submissions.
can confirm by yourself, yes, this, yes, I'm prepared for the exam now. It is the time to go for the war after a month. And if
Yeah,
before a month, you can be assured about everything, your preparation
sure,
and everything around.
exactly.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, like I earlier mentioned, when my accuracy was around 70, I registered because I knew I can, get those extra 10-15% in a month. So when you're very confident that you can give full time, full month, full time for those of 15% of the preparation, then only I think you should take, because again, if your accuracy isn't going around at least 70, a lot of people say you should have a mock accuracy of 80 to register for the exam.
Yeah,
For me, I think 70% worked, but again, it's a bit of subjective matter in there. But yeah, I think it should be at least 70% so that you can manage that extra 15-10%, whatever.
got it. And seriously, I wanted to ask you, what was your experience on the exam day as you have appeared for the exam in both the modes, Proctor at home and Proctor at center. So basically, what's the difference and what was your experience with both of them?
Yeah. So even about that, so since I was doing everything on my own, I really talked to a lot of people, and
Yeah,
there's no exam center in Pune, so we have to travel to Mumbai.
yeah,
So I heard an experience from my friend that if your exam is at 12 in Mumbai and you have to go from Pune to Mumbai, it is not ideal to leave Pune in the morning, reach there at 11, sit for an exam because it drains you. That
drains you
4 hour of
definitely.
travel really drains you because you have to sit for 4 hours, 4.5, even 5 hours, because an hour early you have to reach to the exam center
Yeah,
and everything. So you really have to be 5 hours there without water, without food, without a break. So make sure
yeah,
you're very relaxed on the day of exam. So I went a day earlier. I book a slot of 8 a.m. 8 in the morning because I am someone who cannot do in the afternoons, because after I eat I feel a bit of dizziness. So yeah, I went a day earlier and I reached the exam center at 7. The verification process and everything happened, and I went into the exam for around 8:15,
yeah.
and my exam started at 8:30 and it took me 4 hours. So also one experience I would like to share. There was this girl in our exam and she had an extra A in her passport, and while registering she put only one A, and
You
they did
would
not.
not believe I was about to talk about this. My friend Shub, I would not want to take his name. He experienced the same thing and he lost his, that examination fees and he need to register again. He was totally, he currently, I'm not sure whether he's appearing or not, but he left CMA because of this reason.
Yeah, so that happened with her. There was an extra A in her passport, and there was not an A in the admit
Yeah.
card or confirmation letter. So she had to leave the center, and I was, you know, it feels bad. you know. So yeah, again I took three. So I took three ID proofs, three photo IDs. I don't think PAN card is valid, but I still kept it anyway. Then there
Yeah.
was a driving license, and there
Driving
was
license.
passport.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there was passport. So what happened is for part one, everything went good. But for part two, I mistakenly kept my expired passport there. So only for the exam, I
Okay.
renewed my passport, and by mistake, I took the expired passport there. And then she checked the date, and it was expired a month ago. But luckily, since I had my driving license, it did not.
Yeah.
Uh,
Other
yeah,
than
so
that, you need
it was okay.
two IDs. Yeah. Local IDs. Yeah. If you're not
Yeah,
having
so for
passport.
part one, yeah, so the yeah, so for part one, it was pretty much good. For part two, I gave the proctored at home exam. So proctored at home exam, it takes all, there's a lot of verification. They tell you to go and keep your laptop under the table. They tell you to clear out the whole room. I had this pin which was not, which was a mechanical pin. So so they told me you have to change the pen. So I was carrying my laptop to the next room, getting the pen and then showing it to them. Okay, now this is the pen I've bought. Again, yeah, so again, my driving license, something wasn't visible, so I had to wipe it off. So again, I have to carry my laptop, wipe it off in front of them. Then again, I have to lock those rooms and sit in, and then my exam started. So there's a bit of, you get scared a bit because anything can happen. Your Wi-Fi can go down and stuff like that can
Yeah.
happen. So they mail you a day prior. If this happens, you have to call on this. You have to shut your laptop, or you have to call on this number, etc., etc. So that happened. So my laptop was on mute, and so there's a guy watching you, from the
Yeah.
video. So he could not hear me, and you need to have your microphone on and your everything, camera and on. So my this thing was on mute. So my microphone wasn't working. So they told me to quit the exam, and then again and then there was another guy who came in. So and then my verification happened from the first, and then I started my exam. Also in the proctored exam, you get to have a break, but then again you have to keep your door open and go for the break. But yeah, so when you go out, uh, I think you pause the exam and go after telling them. So there's
Yeah.
always a chat box open down there, and you can text and somebody. Yeah, so you can text there, and there's always someone watching that text box. So you have
Yeah.
to text there, I need a break, and you get a break. So after you come from the break, again the whole verification starts. You have to scan your room, you have to show under the desk
And
everything
I
from the
really don't
legs of
think
the chair
for
to the.
that break you need extra. You will be, having extra time. That time will be going to cut off from your exam
Ah,
only.
yeah. That is true. So you get a break, but the timer is on. So you have
Time
to
is on.
start that
Yeah.
application process again. You have to, make your chair ulta and show it to them. You have to show under the table. You have to show your pen. You have to show everything. That even the top of the this thing table you have to show.
I
So
think
you
it's
have to
it,
really,
it would be good if you'd be traveling to the person who said that.
exactly.
Yeah.
But it was the second wave of exam. I did it anyways. So you really have to have this laptop, and you just have to, show it
Yeah.
everywhere. So that happens. So there was a wallpapery thing in my room behind my back. So I even had to remove that. It just had one word, but I still have had to remove, scrape it off. So if you have really good wallpapers and everything, just go to the exam center. So yeah, that happened with me.
Definitely, definitely. Yeah. Seriously, I
Um,
would not. After listening this, I would not suggest anyone, go with the Proctor at home. The one of the biggest threat is like Wi-Fi going down. I have seen lot of people, not just with CMA but other examination as well, which are Proctor at home. Wi-Fi usually get down for just a second. An exam going to be, paused at that
exactly.
screen. Yeah. And
and
seriously,
all.
and yeah, you can continue.
Yeah, and also the exam fees are same for both the modes.
Yeah,
So
true.
why take risk?
Why it is risk if you're paying for that facility of giving exam at at the center? And seriously, the another thing I want to explain here, like, people who are watching, please make sure your name is exactly getting matching with the with the name you have registered with the IMA, because what is going to happen? This happened with my friend. He usually on all of the IDs he is having his first name. Only the first name, and on the passport he was having the first name and last name as well. But what happened on the exam day? He only take his passport with with him on the at the center, and on the IMA he registered only first name. So they created an issue with the last name. Why your passport is showing last name? Why your IMA registration script is not showing your second name? So he was not able to give the exam just because of this reason, and
Yeah,
that was the day he
even
left CMA just because of this. Seriously.
true. So when I registered, I really took care of this thing. I opened my passport and entered the same name while subscribing to the IMA
It's
membership.
with every exam. With CFA, when I have seen people going out of the exam center just because of name issue, with because of the even middle name issue. So people used to write their father's name in mid, and in the real they don't used to write it. But that
Yeah, true.
definitely I have seen people getting out of this. And seriously, what's your advice for the people who are appearing for the CMA examination? I think we have covered almost everything. But what are your final words you wanted to give it?
I think my final words would be practice, practice, make mistakes, and learn from them. Secondly, when you go to the exam, make sure you make good use of that sheet.
Okay.
Write all the difficult questions, medium questions. When you solve, just write down those questions which you want to visit, which you never want to visit, because there are things which are time consuming. And
Yeah.
so that is one thing, how many questions you solved, and you can just know how much I can get, and this is the time I can, finish my section one, even if it is before time. So yeah, that is what I would say. And make sure you know the concepts instead of learning same thing from four books. Even if you
True.
learn concept from YouTube, and just make sure you can apply it and you can solve a question on that. You can solve four types of question from
The
that
main
concept.
part is application, not just reading out the books and
Yeah, so
all.
main
Yeah.
part is application. That's it.
Yeah. Thank
And
you.
again,
Yeah.
practice aces, I would say, because a lot of people miss out on aces because they feel like I prepared from everything and I can do essay as well. No, you need
Okay.
to practice essays. You need to learn from YouTube and everything how to write essays, how to not spend more time on typing and everything.
And
So yeah,
the best part which I really, learned today is, you should have that LOS along with, that
LOS,
and that the support package that AMA
CGMA
provides, and you
support,
can practice in such a way, not on the basis of, on the question, but basis of the concepts. You can
basis
practice
of
and
the
take
concepts.
which concept is
Yeah,
getting covered, on which you are losing, which you are having good marks, and so everything around. You can work on your losing points, from the LOS, and
yeah,
referring to the
LOS.
support
And
package.
you know the weightage, and from support package, there's one concept which is repeated 10 times, so that is where you should be master at.
Support
So
package
yeah,
is only the question which are expired, and which are past questions, which appeared into the last few years of the examination, and you never know you can get the same language into the real exam as well from support
yeah,
package.
and yeah, I would say essays, there's pretty much repetition around concept when it comes to essays. So I think if you are bad at essays or something, just go with the support package 20 essays, and I think you will be done from those concepts.
True, true. Seriously, thank you for your time today, and it was an amazing connecting with you. We covered a lot of things that it is actually going to help a lot of people. Because we are done with this EM, but lot of people who are not done, who are still struggling with the right guidance from which material to prepare, which is used, which material to use. I'm sure a lot of people are not aware of even support package that IMA provides, and they don't even look at that. So that
Exactly.
these main points we have covered. That's amazing. And seriously, thank you for your time once again. We'll definitely, and people who wanted to connect with Prasna, they can directly connect. I'm going to put Prasna's
Yeah.
LinkedIn on in the description box. You can connect and you can ask any of the questions. Yeah,
Yes. I hope that helps. Thank you, Himanshu. It's been good talking to you too.
definitely. Thank you for your time. Goodbye.